Welcome once again to the Kahului Hongwanji Buddhist Temple's YouTube Sunday service. Today's service is for April 4th, 2021. So today's service will be just our regular family service. We will begin with the Vandana and the Tisarana. You've already heard the ringing of the temple bell, the Kansho bell. And after the Vandana and Tisarana, we will have the Sutra chanting, which today will be the English version of Junirai, called 12 homages to Amidabutsu. And then after that we will recite the Golden Chain of Love, and then I will share a Dharma message with you. Following that we will recite or chant the Metta, the loving kindness meditation, followed by the Nimbutsu, and then a few closing words. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us. And we'll have some announcements at the end. It's wonderful that we can still join together during this difficult time, which keeps having its ups and downs. It's looking better, but then we keep having more talk about new surges and new varieties of the virus. But we'll keep a positive attitude about it. And so, thank you very much for being here. And let's begin our service now by putting our hands together in Gasho, in reverence, for a moment of reflection. Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu. Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Bhutang saranang gacchami, dhammang saranang gacchami, sanghang saranang gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Amidabutsu, 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 Namo Amidabutsu. Gods and men all bow in awe to Amida the revered, in Buddha's wondrous pure land. Bodhisattvas gather round, golden form like the mountain king, steadfast like the elephant's pace. Buddha's eyes like the blue lotus. Thus I bow to Amida. Buddha's form round like the moon, bright like thousand suns and moons. Buddha's voice like the nightingale,
Thus I bow to Amida, Buddha's figure on Kanon's crown, adorned with wondrous features. Buddha subdues evilness. Thus I bow to Amida, beyond compare Amida's pure, virtue shining clear like space, all benefit from Buddha. Thus I bow to Amida, Bodhisattvas all renown, Maras to praise Amida, primal vow made for our sake. Thus I bow to Amida, golden ponds where lotus bloom, towers a throne of goodness. Buddha lives like the mountain king. Thus I bow to Amida, Bodhisattvas come afar, attaining true happiness. They revere the Buddha's face. Thus I bow to Amida. All life changes like the dew. We have no permanent self. Buddha teaches this law to all. Thus I bow to Amida. No evil in the Pure Land, and no fear of evil paths. Faithful hearts honor Buddha. Thus I bow to Amida, saving us through many ways. No tempters, no evil friends. Birth leads to enlightenment. Thus I bow to Amida. Amida, thus I have praised, virtues boundless like the sea. These virtues shared with others, for birth into the Pure Land. Namandabu, 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 Namandabu. The virtue of Amida's vow is shared equally by all, together attaining awakened mind. We are born in the land of peace. Namo Amidabutsu. Namo Amidabutsu. Namo Amidabutsu. Namandabutsu. Namandabutsu. Golden Chain of Love. I am a link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I must keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that on what I do now depends not only my happiness or unhappiness, but also that of others. May every link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love become bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu.
Well, welcome once again, and I'd like to share a few thoughts about the Buddha's teaching with you this morning. Would you please join me with hands together as we recite the Nimbutsu? Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu. Well, this morning I'd like to, it may not be morning, of course, when you're watching this, whenever you're watching this, it's morning for me, but I'd like to share some kind of informal talk with you this morning. In other words, not too structured, but I basically want to tell you a story about the Buddha. And before that, I want to just backtrack a little bit. Many times, and well, I think in my last previous month's message that was in our newsletter, and also many times in the past, I've talked about how people have often asked me as a minister, and especially in times of grieving at funerals and so on, what happens to my loved ones when they pass away, or what happens to me when I pass away? And this is a question that's has many motivations, motivated often by grief. That we have a need to feel that we're still connected with our loved ones when they pass away, and we also want to feel a continuity and a continuation of life ourselves. So we ask, does something happen? What happens after life? But in a more, I guess, in a philosophical sense, or more of a sense of Buddhist teaching, the concern about the afterlife, or talking about the afterlife, or many questions like that, are really questions that don't really have an answer. They cannot be answered because they involve things that are beyond our experience, beyond anything we can know. We live, according to Buddhism, and really just according to our experience, our understanding of life, we live in the relative world. We live in a world based on our own experiences, and that is in relation to others, and we don't know what happens after death because we haven't died and come back and to tell that story. And some people have had those after death experiences, but that is again an experience that we're relating through our eyes of in this world. So even if we do have a kind of an experience, of seeing the light when you have a near-death experience and then you're revived, it isn't necessarily something we can express. Even if we translate it into our human mode of expression, our way of thinking, which is in this world. So that might be kind of confusing, but that's the point. It's very difficult to express something that may be beyond anything we can understand in our human existence. So in that sense, there's no answer. We don't know. We don't know what happens after life. We have to say that there is a continuity, that there is a continuation of life, because we are living, and the life we are living is always part of the life of others. In other words, we are able to live because of the help of others. And without your parents, you wouldn't be able to live. Without the help of all your friends and family and teachers and everything, you couldn't be who you are. And then if you reflect on that, you go back and back, generations upon generations. And they're always, no matter how far back you go, you have to say, everything that happened is essential to your life at this moment. So in that sense, we definitely can understand this continuity. And even if our loved ones passed away, they're still with us, right? And my life now is the life that was made by my parents for me, that was conditioned, to use a more accurate term. And that goes for everything, all of our experiences. Every bite of food you eat, the lives of other living beings that have become part of you. That they only because of those plants and animals lived, and you were able to nurture your life through them, so that living continues. And I find the best way I can find to think about it for myself is to say that my life is not my life. I am able to be an expression of the one life that we all share. And then you can really see, I think, if you think about that, you can really see the way that there is we are part of something eternal, something beyond our individual existence. And that goes on. So what happens to our loved ones when they die? Literally, to their ego self, their personalities and stuff, we don't know. We think, Buddhism basically says everything comes to an end. It's impermanent. Everything's impermanent. Everything that can be known in this world, everything that can be known and thought about and experienced is impermanent. So we have to say in that sense that it comes to an end. But our living, that living continues in all of us who are living now. And again, it's not too good an idea to think too much about it, to try to come up with final answers or something to say, I know what happens after death, or so I have no worries. It's all settled. It's all confirmed. That is a way of thinking that allows us to be very lazy and to stop seeking. That is a way of thinking that we just say, okay, I have all the answers and I don't have to think about it anymore. So that's a problem too, philosophically. And from a Buddhist point of view, we always want to keep growing. We never want to say, I've become Buddha, I know everything, I'm completely enlightened. That's not true. If you look at yourself honestly, we always know that we are foolish beings. We're beings filled with self-centered mind, always have our little hidden agendas, always have something up our sleeves, that lack of transparency. We're not always completely honest. We always have a self-centered mind. So knowing that, right, we have to know that, I have to keep seeking. I have to keep seeking that oneness, that perfection, that enlightenment, which is the goal of Buddhism. I can never say, I've already reached it. I'm here now. So the story I wanted to tell you is very interesting. It has to do with that kind of question. It's a story about the Buddha. So when the Buddha lived, and of course we don't have journalistic information about exactly when he lived and dates and so on. They didn't keep those kinds of records for the most part in ancient India. So when the Buddha lived about 2,500 years ago or earlier, that society, ancient Indian society, and which is, to a certain extent, there's a continuity of that to this day, of a very deeply spiritual society, very much concerned with spiritual path, with the spiritual seeking. And so in those days, when the Buddha taught, gave his sermons, not only did his own disciples, the ones who were kind of full-time followers of him, the monks, not only were they there listening, but also many people from all around, the ordinary people, came to listen and to ask questions. And of course, in some of the sutras, it has all kinds of people there. Even the Indian gods are coming to listen, and all these deities and many bodhisattvas and so on are there listening. But we can imagine historically that a lot of people came to hear. Wherever the Buddha was, people from the villages and cities and so on would come to listen. And on one occasion, Buddha was teaching very early in the morning. And there was a devotee of one of the Indian gods there, very serious person, deeply devoted to one of the gods. I think maybe Rama or something like that. And he was his whole life was devoted to that. But he was starting to have some doubts, you know. He was saying, I've devoted my whole life to worshiping this God and serving and, doing practices and meditations and so on. And I'm starting to think, maybe, a lot of people say that the gods don't exist. There's no God. There's no supreme being. And so what do I do? So maybe I'm wasting my whole life. He's thinking these things. So he decides, well, here, this enlightened being is speaking here. So I can ask him. Maybe he'll have an answer for me. So he does. He speaks up and he asks. He approaches the Buddha. He bows down and says, "World honored one, can you answer me one question? Does God exist? Is there a God?" And Buddha looks at him. So Buddha's enlightened, So when the Buddha looks at you, he sees the reality. One person can ask this question, and he knows what they're really asking. So he says. So the Buddha gives him one word answer. He looks at him and he says, "No." So that was his answer. No. Does God exist? No. Now this was, so we don't know what happens. I don't know what happened to him. How he reacted to that, or how his life changed. But Buddha was. Had insight into what this person was going through and what he was thinking, and so he wanted to challenge him and shake him up, and he did. And of course, other people there probably thinking, "Gee, that's great. God doesn't exist. There's no supreme being. So now I can relax. I don't have to worry about what's going to happen in the afterlife and all." So you see, a lot of our religious ideas are tied up to these beliefs that tell us, when you die, you're going to be punished, and someone's keeping track, and all that kind of stuff. So people were happy. Oh, okay. Buddha said there's no God, so we can relax. We don't have to worry. Okay, so now everyone dispersed from this morning talk, and then later in the evening, people gathered again for another talk from the Buddha. At this second talk, there was another man, seeker, another person. We don't know if it's a man or a woman, but the seeker was an atheist. So that was common in India too. Atheists, people said philosophically, there's no God. They reasoned it all out, and there's no divine, no ultimate being. So he could prove this to you. He would argue with you and go around. And so this was another form of devotion, to be devoted to the idea of atheism, that there is no God. So this person, he was starting to have doubts. He'd been a lifelong, devotee to this truth of there is no God, and he starts saying, "Gee, maybe I'm wrong though. What happens if, when I die, it turns out there is, and I've been going around saying there's no God, so I'm going to get punished. So what happens then?" So he said, "Well, there's this enlightened being." So even though he's an atheist, Indian society always respect that the enlightened, anyone on the spiritual path, is respected. So and so he recognized Buddha is enlightened, so he sees the truth. So let me ask the Buddha. So he approached the Buddha again. He bowed down and said, "World honored one, can you answer me and give me an answer? Is there a God? Does God exist?" And Buddha looked at him. And so again, Buddha saw who this person was and what he was really asking. And he said, "Yes." So the atheist, who's devoted to the idea that God doesn't exist, is told by the Buddha that God does exist. The great devotee of God, who asked in the morning, "Does God exist?" is told no, yes and no. So everyone is really confused. What is Buddha trying to say here, right? This is very confusing teaching, very confusing thing. Yes, God exists. No, God doesn't exist. Well, I think the point of the story, well, my own reflection on this story is that we have to keep growing. You see, as soon as we have certainty and our life begins to be locked down to some kind of belief, we are living in a kind of a mental prison, a kind of our life becomes really fixed. Our thinking becomes fixed. We are no longer awake. We are no longer awake to the changes of life, to growth, we are no longer open to new ideas, right? We're always trying to prove our point of view. We are living in fear, right? Because what happens, we're worried about if what's going to happen to us when we die. If we have these strong beliefs that things must be this way, we are worried about maybe, or on the other hand, we're worried that life comes to an end and there's nothing there, and we want there to be something there. We're all very much focused on our beliefs instead of on the reality of life we're actually living. And I think that's what the Buddha was trying to tell this person. You know that in Buddhism we don't talk about God, and partly it's because, in a sense, it's not important. That's an idea that we have about ultimate reality. In Buddhism, we have different words for it, but for Buddhism, we don't try to be in control of ultimate reality. We don't try to hold on to it. We understand that we are part of it. We have to awake up to it. And that is a question of living, of doing, not a question of who's right and who's wrong. A question of what idea is right and what idea is wrong. There's another story about the Buddha being asked something about the afterlife or something about eternal question. And in this story, Buddha says to the person who's asking, even if I know the answer to this, I'm not going to tell you. I wouldn't tell you. I wouldn't tell you the answer, what happens after you die, or what it's like in the next world, and so on. Why? Because you guys will just argue over my words, right? Even if I tell you clearly the absolute, exact, literal truth of what happens in the next world, you will just argue over my words, and you'll be at each other's throats over nuances and details of the words about something that you know nothing about and have never experienced. So Buddha said it's not important. Focus on this life right now. Focus on waking up now to the present reality you're actually living. And I think that's what the point of these stories, to get us to stop wasting our time, stop wasting our lives worrying about abstract things that are not real, and but focus on what's real. And what is real? What's a lot more important than what happens after death? Are you aware of the people around you, the living beings around you? When someone in your family is troubled or has problems or is happy, are you awake to that? Are you awake to how the other people in your home are feeling? Your neighbors, your friends? Are you when you're hungry? Are you aware? Are you awake to the profound reality of that food that you're eating, the living beings that gave their life for you so that you can nourish yourself and continue your life, right? Are you aware of that? In our tradition, Jodo Shinshu, we don't say you should be grateful. We understand that gratitude arises naturally. That's how it arises. Through the working of great compassion, that's the experiences of life, I start to become deeply aware. When I have a spoonful of food, a bite of rice or a piece of meat or whatever it is I'm eating, I really have to be aware. I really have to reflect. These are living beings. This is a living being that gave its life for me, right? And then gratitude is natural. I'm grateful. And that's the important thing in living. Moment by moment, being awake, waking up to what's really important, what's around me right now. the suffering of those around you, we normally turn a blind eye to it. We don't want to deal with it. Well, I'm thinking of more important things. But there are no more important things. The feelings and the condition of those around you, that's what really matters. Those that you can reach, the changes you can make in the world. Oh, it may be hopeless. You may take action that won't solve the problem. But we do something. We respond. We do our best, right? And we kind of have to let go of the ultimate goal to think that we can solve all the problems or make everyone happy is not going to. We're never going to get there. But to have the intention to care, to be aware of the condition of others, to do something about it day by day, that is our living response. And to be awake to that reality of life. That's really what it means to hear the Buddha's calling voice. Oh, every moment, or as Shinran said, say the Nimbutsu, whether you're awake or asleep. He's really, I don't think he's talking about literally saying these words 24 hours a day. He's talking about hearing that call 24 hours a day to be awake to life, whether it is to appreciate this bite of rice, whether it is to hear, my son is talking to me, my mother is talking to me, she's asking me something. I have to be present for that. Or to hear our own inner worries and concerns, to be aware of what I really care about and what I really might be thinking of or concerned about, to be awake to the life of the present moment. When we ask questions or when we think about these ultimate questions, we have to come back to the fact that, but I don't know. I can't know that. I can't know what's going to happen when I die. I can't know, whether or not there is this or that sort of ultimate being in the universe. What I can know is that right here and now, I'm alive because of others, and that others are there, present, and they are reaching out to me. So thank you very much for listening, and let's conclude our thoughts now with the recitation of the Nimbutsu. Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu.
May all beings be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May I be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to me. May I live in peace and harmony. May my family be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May my teachers be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May my friends be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May strangers be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May my enemies be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May all beings be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu.
Namo
Thank you very much for joining with us again today. I hope you enjoyed the service and that there was something in it that was meaningful for you that you can take away with you and help you throughout the week and on your spiritual path, something we all need. So I have a few announcements. So next week's service will be our Central Maui Hanamatsuri service, which is Hanamatsuri is the Buddha's birthday, celebration of the Buddha's birthday. It means literally flower festival. And that video will be either linked from our website or put on our channel, our YouTube channel. But I'll be sending out an email for those of you who receive the email. And you can just check our Kahului Hongwanji website for the link for the Hanamatsuri service. So we won't have a regular video next week. We will be having this service will be taking the place. So there'll be some chanting and Dharma messages and and some activities and entertainments in this video next week. So that's April 11th, next Sunday. At 9 a.m. it will be available. Okay? And the following week, April 18th, we will be back to our regular video. And that Sunday, we are also observing Eshini Kakushini Day. So Eshini was Shinran Shonin's wife, and Kakushini was his daughter. And so this is an important observance in our tradition, Jodo Shinshu tradition, because both Eshini and Kakushini were really crucial and essential parts of Shinran's path. And so we can talk, well, you'll hear a little bit more about them in that service, okay? And also, April 25th, we will have our own temple Hanamatsuri, Buddha's birthday observance here, and it will be an in-person service. So those of you who are interested in attending in person, you just give us a call at the temple, and we will also have the video as well. So you can participate through the video if you're unable or don't want to come to the temple for that service. Okay, but we do have because of social distancing, we have limitations of how many people we can take. So please do call the temple before so that we can have a count. Okay, so thank you very much. And please stay well and continue. Remember, the most important thing is our journey of life. You know, we don't know really what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know all the unpredictable things that life may offer us, like seem to put in our path as hindrances, like pandemics and so on. But the most important thing is this journey of life we're on. So focus on that and try to find joy and meaning in every moment of life. Thank you very much. Let's close by putting our hands in Gassho and reciting the Nimbutsu. Namo Amidabutsu. Namo Amidabutsu. Namo Amidabutsu.
1, 2, 3, 4.